If you have something to elevate your hips with, great. Maybe a pillow, blanket, towel. If not, no worries. All right. Do the best you can to sit up nice and tall. And it always helps to hug the belly in slightly toward, hug the belly button, excuse me, slightly in toward the spine to help support the core, the upper body as you sit, the spine. And we're going to take a mudra to open up class today. It's called Balance Mudra. And mudras are very effective in bringing about certain energetics that can help harmonize us within our physical, emotional, mental states. And a cool little factoid is that there are more nerve endings in our hands than any other place in our body. So it stands to reason that when we do put our hands into little shapes, I like to call them yoga poses with our hands, we can call upon or release certain frequencies, vibrations, energy. So what we're going to do is we're going to gather all of the fingertips together, like we're creating little beaks, and then we're going to bring the fingertips together to touch, and then rest the hands maybe in front of the pelvis, the belly, or the heart space, whatever feels most natural for you in your body. And then again, hugging that belly in slightly toward the spine to help you sit nice and tall. Lift the heart. And feel the shoulder blades on your back descend down toward the earth, bringing some more space between your ears and your shoulders. Now let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Do more like that in your own timing. Just be sure that you drink in nice long breaths and maybe even let out a little bit of sound on the exhale. So this shape that we're holding with our hands is called Samukha Mudra or Balance Mudra. It's excellent for balancing out the left and right side body, bringing us a sense of clarity and equilibrium, balancing mental clarity as well as physical clarity on the left and right side body, heightens our awareness of all of our senses, and it builds concentration. Since we're in Libra season, embodying the scales, finding balance from the left to the right, from the front to the back, from the bottom to the top. We're going to pair this mudra with a breath work called Samavriti or equal fluctuation breath. We'll keep it simple, 4-count inhale, 4-count exhale. So become aware of the breath as it is. We start out as the observer to notice where the breath is traveling, the depth of our breath. And on your next exhale, actively push all the air out to cleanse the lungs. And we'll inhale for 2, 3, 4. Right into the exhale for 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, and 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhaling and exhaling. Continuing like this for a few more breaths. If you find that you'd like to increase your count to 5 or 6, of course, do that if you feel like you need it, but we are not looking for any tension or strain in the breath. Fluid breaths in and out. Finish up the round you're on, and we'll take 2 more full cycles. And after that second round, allow the breath to return to its natural state and become the observer once again. Observing the breath, but also your mental state, your emotional state, your physical state. And then you can release the mudra, wiggle out the fingers, roll the wrists out, make sure you go in both directions with the rolls. Okay. Spread the fingers really, really wide, making as much space as you can between each finger. And then exhale, ball up the hands, squeeze nice and tight. Inhale to stretch and open. Exhale to bring into a nice tight ball. Good, and then go ahead and shake that out. Okay. Hands on the ground beside you so you can sit back a little bit to switch out the cross of your legs. To help us bring a little bit more of that sense of harmony and equilibrium, we're going to unite body and breath. Okay, so keeping it super simple. Hands at heart center to symbolize unity and that unification of left and right side to the heart center. Take a deep breath in and out. And on your next inhale, reach the arms out wide and high. Breathing in all the way to the top. Gather the palms, exhale nice and slow, or as long as the length of your breath. Till hands are in heart center. We'll go for that again. Big breath in, breathing all the way up to the top. Exhaling all the way down to the heart. We'll do that again. Inhale. It's like you're scooping up the energy around you so that you can bring it in and down into your heart space. Press firmly into the hands as you inhale. Lift the hands right back up through center. As you exhale, palms face away and press down toward the ground like big snow angel arms. Good. Gathering the palms, inhale through your center. Maybe your gaze follows the thumbs as they move up. And exhale, hands come down and breath. One more time, inhale. Exhale, simple moving meditation. Uniting breath and body. Good. From here, we're going to inhale, reach the arms up, gather up your length. And as you exhale, you're going to twist over towards your right, over to your right. Land the hands on the thigh, on the earth behind you. Press into the ground and lift the crown of the head as high as you can to lengthen the spine. Still keep that engagement of belly in toward the spine. Gentle twist over to the side. We'll get the neck involved a little bit. On your next inhale, move the head to look behind you any amount. It can be a very small amount, or maybe you can look all the way behind that shoulder. As you exhale, shift the chin all the way around to over to the other shoulder, facing toward the front. Okay, 2 more times like that with your breath. Inhale to look behind you. And exhale forward. Sitting tall, hugging the belly in. One more time. Good. Keep that hand, that left hand on the opposite thigh and reach the right arm alongside your ear and then tip over toward your left. Try to ground down very deeply through the right hip. You might notice that it wants to pop off the ground a little bit. Maybe back out of the side bend to glue that down. Take a big breath in, reach through your right fingertips. And as you exhale, lower that hand down in front of the other, crossing. Take hold of the thighs. You can lift the legs up a little bit so you can find a good grab. Take a big breath in. And exhale, let the knees fall apart, round forward. Stretching open, broadening the shoulder blades on the back to make space for the back of the heart to shine upward. As you draw in your next breath, slowly come up, uncross the arms, reach the arms out wide to the sides. Take a big breath in. And exhale, hands come down by your sides. Inhale, reach up. And as you exhale, you're going to twist over to the left, landing the hands wherever they make sense. And taking a deep breath in to lengthen the spine, reach the top of the head up toward the sky, lift the chin a little bit in space. And as you exhale, pin that belly button toward the spine. Okay, a little bit more breath to movement. As you breathe in, shift the chin to look past the shoulder behind you, any amount. As you exhale, shift the chin toward the front to look over the other shoulder. 2 more times, follow the pace of your breath. Right hand is on the left thigh. Reach the left arm up alongside your ear and then tip over without losing that groundedness in your left hip. Press down actively through your right hip. What even helps is to, at least visually, press the ribs out to the side a little bit more. And that helps, at least in my body, to ground down that hip a little bit better. Breathe into the side body. As you exhale, cross that arm over the other, find good hold of the legs, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let the legs spill apart, fold forward a bit to find that stretch at the back of the heart. Those muscles between the shoulder blades, the rhomboids. All right, on your inhale, reach out toward the sides, get big. And exhale, hands come down onto the mat. We'll meet in a tabletop shape. You can move, if you have a blanket, just out of the way. On hands and knees here, spread the fingers well, knees are underneath the hips. And as you inhale, arch the spine, lifting the tail and the crown up toward the sky. As you exhale, round, pressing the tail and the top of the head toward the earth. Do that twice more. Link this up with your breath as well. Inhaling to arch and exhaling to round. We're going to stay in our cat pose here and let the head hang. Actively press through the palms here and feel the muscles on the outer ribs here just beneath the armpits light up. Maybe circle out the head a little bit, maybe shake it side to side or nod. See how actively you can let the head surrender and just hang. Continue to press actively through the palms. All right, and then go ahead and let that go. We're gonna maybe step back a little bit so we're more toward the foot side of our mat so we have room for our arms. And you're gonna walk the arms out till they're about straight, staying up on the palms. And we want to keep the hips stacked over the hips here as best you can. And we're lowering the heart down any amount for a puppy pose. If you notice the hips shifting back behind the knees, try to realign, maybe walk the hands forward, and think about just lowering the heart straight down, perfectly vertically downward. Okay. So important here to keep that belly pinned in toward the spine, as with all postures. So as often as you can remember, try to remind yourself to do that. We'll be here for 3 more rounds of breath. Notice if you're furrowing your eyebrows or clenching the chin. And then very, very carefully activate those abdominal muscles to slide one hand in and then the other, and then keep walking them back in so you can come back into a tabletop shape. Okay. From here, we'll come up to kneeling and bring your hands onto your hips. And we're going to stretch one leg out to the side. Okay. Doesn't matter which, because of course we're going to do both. So from here, arms are going to come out to the sides, palms face forward. And take a deep breath in, circle the arms out wide and high, palms meet overhead. As you exhale, hands come down through heart center. We'll do that again. Inhale. Finding length as the arms reach up, exhale, hands come on down. One more time, inhale, little change here. As you exhale, land that hand over onto the extended leg, just lightly rest it there, no weight, just lightly resting the fingertips, and then reaching that other arm up and over. If it feels better in your neck and your shoulder, you can bring the hand behind the head, or maybe even just the fingertips onto the shoulder. What we're really interested in here is rolling the heart up toward the sky, and finding that nice, gentle side bend on the side body. This is called gate pose, gate. So I'm looking straight out ahead, but if it feels better in your body to look more down toward the earth, you can do that. We're going to take a couple more breaths here. Good. And then on the inhale, reach both arms up. And just as a side note here, your arms don't have to come into a number 11 if you need to. They can come more into a V shape. We really want just the palms to face in toward each other and maybe even slightly back behind us. That helps the arms to stay in an outward rotation to keep the heart open, okay? So number 11 or V shape. We're gonna come back to face the front. You're gonna take that hand, that arm that's on the bent leg, and sweep it down and around behind you, facing away from your extended leg. Or a kneeling twist. So I'm going to encourage you here to open up the heart out to the side as much as you can, reaching through the fingertips. And then at the same time, trying to press that right hip back in space so that both hips are squared off toward the. Or if you prefer, think about pressing that open side's hip toward the front. Taking one more big breath in and out. On the inhale, sweep both arms forward and then up. Look up to gather up length, get tall and expansive through your spine. And then hands are going to come down onto the mat. We're going to rock forward here so that we're kind of like in a modified tabletop shape. Okay, so I have my hip over my knee, leg is still out to the side. You're going to plant your hand on the corresponding side of the bent knee into the middle of the mat, and then reach the other arm up. So we're opening up toward the extended leg. And do the best you can to stack your arms like 12 and 6 on a clock, okay? And actively press through the palm to come out of the shoulder. When we do this, we encourage the activation of the muscles in our arms rather than just kind of hanging out in the joints. And then the gaze can move up toward the lifted hand, to the side, or down toward the earth. Reaching up through those fingertips energetically as you roll the heart and the hips upward as well. Take one more big breath in. And hand comes down onto the mat. Coming back down. And we're in a tabletop shape once again. And we'll walk the hands back in toward the legs. And we'll stretch the other leg out now. All right. The leg is straight. Inhale, reach the arms out wide and high. Palms together. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Again with the breath. And exhaling, hands down. One more time to scoop it up. And on the exhale, we'll tip over toward that extended leg. Lightly resting those fingertips. Reaching through the lifted arm. And remember, you have those options of bringing the hand behind the head or on the shoulder if you need to. We'll come on up nice and slow. Reach both arms upward. As you exhale, open up away from the extended leg. Or a twist on this side here. And try to press the hips parallel with the top edge of your mat. Reaching in both directions. Revolving the heart open to the side. Taking one more big breath in. And out. We'll inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, hands come down onto the mat once again. Bring that one hand into the center, the same arm that's on the bent knee, and then reach open toward the extended leg. Stacking your shoulders as best you can. Pressing firmly into that planted palm. Lightness. And one hand reaching for the sky, the space, and the other hand firmly planted and providing that stability for us in our body. So we have another perspective of the scales or balance through our limbs. All right, one more big breath in, get as long as you can. And then lower that hand down on the exhale, bring that leg in. We'll walk the hands back in toward the body and come into a low lunge. So I'm going to start with my left foot, wiggling those toes forward. Hands on the hips here to start. So encourage the left hip back and the right hip forward. Okay, and my ankle is well ahead of my knee. You've probably heard me say that before. We're going to take a big breath in and squeeze the shoulders, or the elbows rather, together toward the back to lift the heart. Again, hug that belly in toward the spine. On the exhale, lunge forward any amount. It can be a tiny, tiny little amount. Maybe you come way down, stretch in that right quad, in the front side body, even in the abdominals, the deep abdominal muscles, the psoas. Just ensure that that knee doesn't travel past the ankle. Okay. Taking a breath in, we're going to come out of this lunge a little bit here. Reach the arms up into a cactus shape. If it feels more comfortable, you can bring the arms more into like a W shape. Okay, palms are face forward. Take a big breath in, squeeze the shoulder blades together on the back, slightly look up toward the sky. As you exhale, bring the elbows together and lunge forward any amount. Little tuck of the chin. Okay, so we're just getting a little bit of movement as we breathe in and out. Inhale to come back out. Come into those goalpost arms. And as you exhale, lean forward into your lunge, bring the elbows together. One more time. Going nice and slow here to maintain your balance. Nicely done. Inhale to come up, to open up to your goalpost arms. And then exhale on down to the earth. Walk that foot back, and then we'll bring the other foot forward. Okay. So we'll start off. This is considered more of a proposal pose when you're not like fully into your lunge yet, but you're a little bit more upright. Each leg has about a 90-degree bend. We're using the hands here to guide the hips to square off with the top edge of the mat. Okay, so right hip back, left hip forward. Find your goalpost arms. Take a big breath in, lift the heart, squeeze the elbows together on the back. Good. As you exhale, find your lunge. Tuck the chin a little bit. Let's stay here for just a sec because I forgot to hold a little bit before we got going. Maybe you notice the ways that you gently sway to stay balanced in this shape. Can you feel your foot moving, or maybe the knee, or any other part of your body? All right, let's come up and out. Find those cactus arms, lift the heart. Exhale, bring it together, little gentle tuck of the chin. One more time, inhale, open. And exhale, close. To open up. And exhale, hands come down onto the ground. We'll walk that foot back. And we'll find a child's pose, bringing the knees wide, big toes together, reaching the arms out in front of you. Third eye comes down onto that. If you have a blanket or towel, you could rest your third eye on that as well. We're going to take about 3 more rounds of breath here in child's pose. On your next breath in, slowly come up, press into the palms, walk the hands underneath the shoulders to lift yourself up into a tabletop once again. Okay. We're going to come into a quick down dog just to transition. So from a tabletop, find those wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Tuck your toes and walk the hands forward, a full handprint. Fingers spread well. Shift the hips over the heels and then start to press up for that inverted V shape downward dog. Paddle up the feet a little bit here. Just find a little bit of stretch in the back of the legs. Okay. And then we're going to look in between the hands, bend the knees generously, and you're going to step your left foot forward. And you're going to spin that back heel down for a heel to arch alignment. Okay, so you might need to wiggle or shift the feet around. Okay, so my left toes are facing the short edge of the mat, right toes facing the long edge of the mat. And then press on up. You can use your leg as a place to help you up. Okay, so we're setting up for warrior 2 here. Hands onto the hips and start to bend into that left knee. Okay, just like low lunge, if you see that knee wanting to travel past the ankle, wiggle the toes forward. And just notice if you're leaning forward in your warrior 2 or kind of leaning back, try to the best of your ability stack the shoulders over the hips. okay? And we're using our helping hands again to square the hips. So this time we want the hips open to the side. So I'm encouraging left hip forward, right hip back, okay? This back leg is super straight. This one's got relatively a 90-degree bend. And you want that knee, when you look down, if you could draw an invisible line, it's going to go right over the second or third toe on your foot. Okay, so just notice if it's caving in a little bit, try to line it up. All right. Pin that belly button in as always to help support the upper body. You can keep your hands on your hips here. This is a great way to hang out and work on your alignment in Warrior Two, or reach the arms out to the sides, about parallel with the earth. Palms are classically face down. We're going to try a little exercise by facing the palms up. And by the way, if at any point you need a break on that leg, just straighten it out, and then when you're ready, come back into your Warrior Two. Okay? Palms face up, and inhale, lift the heart. And then from here, like you have two trays in your hands, try to bring them together on the back. And just notice how that opens up the heart a little bit more. And then re-straighten the arms without losing that engagement in the back, and then flip the palms back on down. So essentially what we're doing is we're squeezing the shoulder blades together on the back and lifting the heart, while hugging the belly in and worrying about a bunch of other stuff too. So that's the part of yoga, and over time all of these things come without having to consciously bring effort behind it. It's a different kind of consciousness that comes through in your body. Take one more big breath in, you can do it. As you exhale, straighten that front leg, hands onto your hips. Take your left toes and face them toward the long edge of the mat. So now we're in a wide-legged stance, and adjust so that you feel like you've got a pretty solid, stable. And then keeping hands on hips, squeeze the elbows together toward one another on the back. And then leading with your heart, hugging the belly in, start to hinge at the hips. Forward folding. Okay. Once you feel like you have run out of room, bend the knees and bring the fingertips down toward the earth and let the upper body hang. And then from here, you can play with moving side to side, alternating the bend in your legs to find a little bit more of a stretch. Maybe you got enough stretch going on here in this forward fold, just options, suggestions, not have tos. And maybe you want to sway the upper body in some way, maybe take hold of opposite elbows and hang, or let arms drape back and forth. All right, from here, bend your knees very generously, press into the earth, and come back on up, hands on hips. So we'll take our Warrior Two to the other side. So we're just going to shift those right toes to face the back side of the mat, or the short edge of the mat. And make sure, once again, you have that heel to arch alignment, okay? And then we're going to start to bend into that right knee, making sure that you line it up about over the second and third toe. Back leg is really straight. You even want to think about energetically rolling the outer edge of your foot down toward the ground, because sometimes I see this with the outer edge of the foot up. So if you press down, you'll activate the inner arch, and that helps you to be a little bit more stable here. And then just notice, are we leaning forward? Are we leaning kind of back? Find somewhere in the middle. Encourage that back hip backward, and the front hip more out to the side to square off here. Okay. Pumping out of that front leg as often as you need to give yourself that little bit of a break. Okay. And then we're going to reach the arms out to the sides. Palms face up. Bring those shoulder blades together on the back, lift the heart, belly in. Keep that heart lifted as you subtly shift the palms to face back down, and then send your gaze over your right fingertips for our Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior Two. Take one more big breath in, and as you exhale, straighten that leg. Pivot on the heel so that those toes face the long edge. Take a big breath in, reach the arms out wide and high. Gather the palms, exhale, hands come down through heart center. We'll take a couple of breaths here. See if you can feel your heart beating. All right, take a look down at your toes. You're one at a time going to shift the toes out at an angle, okay, about a 45-degree angle. Heels in, toes out. Okay. And then on your next inhale, you're going to bring the arms up to about 10 and 2 on a clock, creating a giant X with your body. This is called star pose. It's my absolute favorite posture. It's super simple, but it's so effective in helping to bring about confidence, feeling seen, big, bright energy. It boosts energy, it brings positive feelings of lightness and joy. And even here, can you hug that belly in toward the spine and lift the heart, maybe lift the gaze upward. It's like you're a channel for all the light to come into your core, help energize you and bring you vitality. On your exhale, gather the palms together down into your heart space. It's once again like we're sealing that energy in. From here, you're slowly going to start to find a bend in the knees, lowering the hips straight down rather than back, straight down into goddess pose. Okay, so if you need to adjust your stance, maybe walk the heels closer together, that's cool. We've got a bend in both knees. So think about that alignment in Warrior 2. You want the knees over the toes. Okay. Take one more big breath in here in goddess pose. And as you exhale, straighten the legs. Heel toe the feet together. You're about hip width distant, not all the way together. And then release the arms down by the sides, palms face forward, heart lifted, shoulders raising together on the back. Hug the belly in. Mountain pose. All right. From here, shift yourself to the top of your mat. Sorry, you guys, I have to adjust my camera because I'm not in a very big space. All right. All right. Taking a big breath in, reach the arms up toward the sky. And as you exhale, generous bend in the knees to fold forward. Okay. We're going to step our left foot back. Keep the fingertips onto the mat, and you're going to start to heel toe that right foot over to the left. And then bring both hands in front of that leg and set the outer edge of your leg onto the ground. Take that heel and scooch it all the way in towards your hip. Okay, so it's off at an angle, and then untuck the toes behind you. Move yourself around so you can take a look at that leg and just make sure it's moving straight out behind you. To get a little bit more length, what I like to do is tuck my toes, shift my knee back in space, and then untuck the toes. That helps me to find a bit more length. Okay. If you have a blanket or a towel or something, and you're finding that you have a bit of a gap underneath here, bridge the gap with that support. And then from here, we're going to come forward, take it easy on A by bringing the hands out in front of us. And think about pulling the hands in toward the body. They won't actually move. It's called an isometric movement of pulling the hands back to lift the heart up for one leg king pigeon pose. Take a big breath in here. Unhinge the jaw if you've got it clenched. As you exhale, come down closer to the earth, bending at the elbows, maybe walking the hands. These are all just suggestions. Maybe forearms come down. Maybe walk the elbows wide and rest the third eye on balled up hands or palms. Okay, you can also stay upright here, maybe ball up as well to keep yourself lifted in your pigeon pose. Lots of different options. And you want to deeply into the places of your body that feel it most. Take one more round of breath. And then we'll press on up. Walk the hands forward, tuck the toes, press into the ball of the foot to help shift you forward to make a bit of space. And then we'll send that right leg back. And we'll come back into a quick embryo pose. So the legs are all the way together, feet untucked. Third eye comes down, arms alongside the body. So we're in a little ball shape, similar to child's pose, but the knees are together, arms are back. I've also heard this one called snail pose or cosmic egg. I think they're all very fitting. Or turtle pose. On your next breath in, bring the hands underneath the shoulders to press yourself up nice and slow. And then we'll walk forward here to come back into that gentle forward fold with the knees bent really generously. And this time we're going to send the right leg back and then start to walk that right foot over to the left. Or I'm sorry, totally backwards. Left foot over to the right. And then lower the outer edge of that leg down. Slide that heel in toward the groin. And then if you've got a blanket to bridge the gap, if you have one underneath that left glute or thigh, you can use that. Blocks work great as well if you have those. Hands onto the earth in front of that knee. And isometrically pull the hands in toward the body to help lift the heart up. And depending on where you are in your practice, you could think about taking that right hip that's back and pressing it down firmly toward the earth to find a little bit more stretch in your quadricep and psoas. Okay, so option to take a more variation if you would like, coming down on arms or hands. Maybe balling up the hands, staying upright. We're going to take 2 more breaths. And then as you're ready, bring those hands underneath the shoulders to help start to climb back up. Tuck those back toes to shift yourself forward, create some space, and then shift that leg back. We'll come back into our embryo pose, legs close together, tops of the feet onto the ground. And if you can, maybe tuck your chin and bring the crown of the head onto the earth, arms alongside the body. Slowly bring the hands underneath the shoulders, come on up. And then we'll swing around onto our back. Taking your time. There's no rush to get there. And then once you're on the earth, please bend your knees and scoot your heels in toward your seat as best you can. Okay, and you want those feet right underneath the knees, about hip width distant. Press into the backs of your arms to bury the shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more. That'll lift the heart. And then your arms come alongside the body with the palms face down. All right, from here, moving into bridge pose, press into the soles of the feet to lift the hips off the earth. Squeeze the thighs together. Squeeze the glutes. And if you wanted to here, you could further shimmy the shoulders beneath you and maybe even take a bind, interlacing the fingers. See if you can get the arms straight and keep the outer edges of your hands connected to the ground. Lifting the hips, lifting the heart, lift the chin up and away from the chest to create some space in the notch of your neck. We're going to take about 3 more breaths here. If you have the bind, gently unlace, hands onto the ground, slowly lower your spine onto the earth. And just take a moment here to feel the energy, the prana in your legs, in the hips, perhaps in the hands and the arms, especially if you took the bind. And then we're going to go for that again. So if you need to adjust, if you've moved your feet in any way, hip width distant, close to the seat. And then press firmly into the soles of the feet on a breath in to lift the hips. Keep the thighs parallel to each other, activating through the hamstrings and glutes. If you want to try that bind or do it again, maybe bring the opposite thumb on top. Bury the shoulders underneath you, see if you can get the arms straight. Option only, of course. Pressing firmly into the backs of the shoulders, the back of your head, lifting the chin. We're going to take 2 more breaths here. Strengthening our backside body. And then if you have the bind, release. Everybody slowly roll back on down. From here, flip the palms up. You're going to bring them out to the sides like an upside down V shape. And then you're going to heel toe the feet away from each other out to the edges of the mat, and then walk the heels away from your seat. And then from here, we're gonna windshield wipe the legs from side to side. Okay, the next time that your knees fall over to the left, keep them there. And flex through both of your ankles so that you're pressing the heels over toward the right really actively. Option here to lift your left leg and cross that ankle on the outer edge of the thigh. If you feel pain, pinching, of course, release it, bring it back down onto the ground. And then taking a big breath in, looking up toward the sky. As you exhale, shift your gaze over to the right. Let the head fall over, maybe glancing at your right fingertips. On your next breath in, lift the gaze back up to center, lift the knees back on up, and then we'll shift the knees a little bit from side to side. Maybe this time focus in on any sensation that you're receiving in the low back or the glutes as you windshield wipe back and forth. And then let the legs both fall over to the right. If needed, you can scooch the heels in closer to the seat or further away, but flex through those ankles. And then maybe pick up the right leg and cross it on the outer edge of the left thigh. Palms are still faced up and out to the sides. Take a breath in, looking upward. And then exhale, let the head fall over to the left. Take one more round of breath. If you have that knee lifted, slowly lower. Head and knees come back up to center. Walk the heels back in towards your seat. Then lift your knees in towards your chest, one at a time. Give yourself a great loving hug. One hand for each knee. Start to draw some baby circles in one direction. And then very slowly, we're going to spiral these circles to become larger and larger. Finding full length in the arms as you circle the knees, bringing them in as tight as you can. And then you're going to pause with the knees in toward the heart space, and then let the circles continue in the opposite direction. And then start to tighten it up, bringing these circles smaller and smaller. And then hug the knees in toward the heart space, big loving squeeze. And then go ahead and set up for your final resting posture. Extending the legs, extending the arms, palms face up, please. If you have a blanket that you would like to use in any way, you can find that support. Maybe a rolled up blanket beneath the knees. Maybe a folded blanket across the hips. That's a nice grounding sensation. Gently shimmy those shoulders beneath you, shoulders down the back. And then take a deep breath in, looking up toward the sky. As you exhale, invitation to close your eyes. Take another deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, invitation to breathe out of the mouth. Let the jaw unhinge, tongue floating to the bottom of your mouth. Releasing all effort to completely surrender the practice. Please slowly invite in a deeper inhale. And let it go, let it go, let it go. Another deep breath like that. Fresh life force to wash over your body. And then starting to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Shift your head side to side. Pick up the hands, roll out the wrists in both directions. Point and flex the toes. Reach the arms overhead. Point through the toes, get long, lift the heart. And then roll to one side. Take a full round of breath on your side, maybe using your bottom arm as a pillow. And then as you're ready, press on up. Coming into a seat. We'll gather our hands together at heart center. One last little effort to pin that belly toward the spine as you lift the heart. Taking a deep breath in, reflecting on your practice here today. And then for good balance, exhale, let it all go. It's been my honor and pleasure to lead you through practice this afternoon on this beautiful fall day. May we find gratitude for this ancient practice, to all the teachers who have come before us to show us the way. Gratitude for this world we share, and gratitude for ourselves for showing up to do the work and to keep the practice alive. Namaste.